I served as a support magistrate in Erie County Family Court for 10 years. And during that time, I handled over 20,000 child support cases and paternity cases and various other types of cases that come through child support sections. I just want to run through some of the petitions that potentially could be filed against you, okay? So first you get a straight support petition. A straight support petition is for two parties that are not married, and the person who has custody of the child wants to get child support. And so they can file a petition in family court if you have signed an acknowledgement of paternity when the child was born. First thing that the support magistrate is going to ask you about is your proof of your income. And so what I recommend is that people bring their pay stubs, if you can, your tax return, and any other proof of income that you might have to your first court appearance. One of the things that people complain about a lot is that they come back and forth to family court a lot, lots of adjournments. If you can bring information with you, that's the best thing that you can do on your first appearance, because then you can potentially get the case completely resolved at that point. Child support is very straightforward with respect to how much you're supposed to pay. So for one child is 17%, 2 children is 25%, 3 children is 29%, 4 children is 31%, and then any more than that is 35% of your income. Now, one of the things that kind of gets confusing is if people have a child with different moms. If you have maybe one child with one mom and one child with another mom, the first mother in time gets the full pay. Okay, she gets to calculate the child support based on your full pay. If you have another child with a different mom, you get a deduction off of your first payment, off of your income of what you pay for the first child, okay? And then it's calculated at 17%, okay? So sometimes we run into a problem where one mom feels that she's not being fairly treated because the child support order might be very different. How do you rectify that? Well, one of the things that you can do is always try to work it out before you get to the point where you come to court. But what I recommend is that if you do come to an agreement, make sure you use money orders or checks to pay, okay? Not that she could go back in time, because the filing date is as far back as a person can go when it comes to child support. The reason I say you want to have some kind of record of your payment is so that you can show that you've been a responsible father, that you have really taken the initiative to be there and to support your child. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes custodial parents will lie. And they will come into court and say, he never did anything, he never bought anything. And the guys who can come in and say, here's a record, Judge, of everything that I've paid, here's everything that I've bought, it really does make a big difference, because it shows that you're a responsible father, but it also shows me that this person is not necessarily honest. I also recommend that you keep a calendar. If you have regular visits with your child, you should make sure that you keep track of when you are having those visits. Keep a calendar. And so if there ever becomes an issue about what exactly the time that you have been spending, you will have some records that you can go back and look at and bring to the court if necessary. You have to remember, in New York State, child care and uninsured medical expenses are considered mandatory add-on expenses. And whenever you hear add-on, that means it's in addition to your regular child support payment. So if the child has to go to daycare because the parents have to go to work, then you are responsible for a percentage of that cost. And you, as a father, are not expected to pay anything until you see proof of it, okay? It might be in the order that you have to pay for uninsured medical, but you have to make sure that you receive the proper proof. And it's the same thing for daycare. Just kind of moving into modification petitions, if you have a child support order that you get, you can then modify it if you have some change in circumstances. One of the big things that people don't realize is if you are fired from your job, you are not entitled to a modification unless the other party agrees to it. If you filed for unemployment then you need to make sure you bring proof of that. You know, that I filed, I just haven't heard yet whether or not I've been approved. They have that little waiting period. So having said that, number one, please, please, please keep all of your emotions in check when you're at work. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I just have to say that because we all know there are times and there are buttons that somebody can push. I've been there. Okay. I've seen the cases where someone will get fired, the custodial parent will not agree to reducing the order, and it'll be just piling up arrears that, I don't know, sometimes can never get paid off. That the county, by law, will not waive your arrears. Your child's parent, your mother, could, if you all work something out and she could say, I don't want the arrears, let's clear the account, we'll work something out on the side. You get into to a certain level of arrears with the county, you will lose your driver's license, you could potentially lose your passport and any state issued license. So for people who depend on a state license for their careers, such as barbers and things like that, it's a problem. When you stop making payments and they see no consistency, that's when they're going to proceed with respect to your account. So hopefully there's a way that they can work things out on the side. But just understand, if you file a joint return because you are married, your spouse needs to understand that all the money's going as well. Okay? You can work it out any way you want. And that's what you want to encourage your child's mother to do, that you all want to work it out. At some point, you all were getting along. So you got to kind of get back to that point where you can say, let's try to fix this on our own. We don't need the court. I know it doesn't always work, but you can try. The third type of petition is a violation petition. And so the violation petition is filed against you if you fail to make payments. I'm assuming if you're not paying, you must have lost your job. So make sure you bring proof that you've been applying for jobs, that you've been searching for work, that you're like enrolled with BETC. I don't know if you all are familiar with them, but things like that to show that you are making an effort. If you're not showing that you're making an effort, then it's a really good chance that you may go to jail. Don't just come to court and be like, I don't know, to court. Just go take care of your business by yourself unless you have an attorney. But don't bring anybody with you. It's just the worst thing ever. The other thing is, try to keep your emotions and your attitude in check. Sometimes I see people, they will walk in the courtroom and immediately they had an attitude with me because they were mad they were in court. But there's like this anger and this, you know, and a lot of times they were rightfully so. They should have been upset because they shouldn't have been dragged down there. But the bottom line is keep your cool, be respectful to everybody, even your child's mother. You know, they might be saying stuff, just keep looking forward. Don't even respond because he's laughing because he knows, right? Because if you engage in that, it just makes for things to be worse. So violation petitions, you know, you can end up going to jail for 6 months for each violation. So if she keeps filing every time, that can pile up. Now, one of the worst things that you can do is not show up to court, okay? Because 2 things could happen. The first thing that could happen that you would not want to deal with is a warrant could be issued. So you don't want the warrant because if you are working and you potentially get picked up somewhere at work or it causes you to miss work, that's a problem. The second problem that it can cause is it can be a default order. So if you show up one time or if it's properly served on you, then the only testimony that we have is your child's mother. So she could say, well, he used to work at so-and-so and he made this amount of money and this and that. Because you're not there to refute it, we can base the child support payment on that imputed income. So when you are looking for work, or if you lose your job by, you know, if you were fired or something like that, the court can impute income to you. And that is a number or a figure that is determined by your past experience, past education, and your age. So basically, what are you capable of doing? and how much should you be able to earn at your age and your experience level. The last type of petition that you could potentially see is a paternity petition. And so you can file a paternity petition if you want to know, but understand once paternity is established, that person can then immediately ask for child support. I think the best thing that I can tell you all today is, whether or not you're with the person that you have children with, you need to co-parent, you need to work together. Everybody's not going to be able to get along. It's just not going to happen. But for the people who really want to try, you really are the ones that are in control of your children's lives. And that's the way it should be.